All right, the next topic we're going to be looking at in geometry is simplifying radicals. All a radical is, it's a square root. Why don't you go ahead and grab your calculator right now and try this. What is the square root of 27? And then if you grab your calculator right now, you'll get that it's about 5.196. Also try this one. Try 3 times the square root of 3, and you'll notice that you'll get the exact same answer, 5.196 approximately here. Now there's a reason for that, and that's what we're going to be exploring today, is why is the square root of 27, why is that the same as the 3 times the square root of 3? And basically what the plan is you're going to rewrite radicals in what we call factored form, so that one of the factors is a perfect square. So what I have here is a perfect square list, and in a minute I'm going to ask you to pause it, and then you can copy this all down. But for instance, if I took the number 25, 25 is a perfect square because if I square root it, I get 5. Square root of 81, 81 is called a perfect square because if I square root that, I get 9. If I took the number 90, 90 is not, because the square root of 90 is not on my list here. If I square root it, I do not get a perfect whole number here. So this is the list here. Anything on the bottom row is what we call a perfect square. So it's 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. What's great about them, if you take any of those numbers and square root it, you get a nice whole number here. So why don't you go ahead, pause, and copy down all this information up here, and then we'll go into how to simplify radicals. Okay, now that you've done pausing it here, let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at some of these radicals here, and we're going to do what's called simplifying. So a minute ago, we did the square root of 27, and we found the decimal approximate is 5.196. So let's now talk about why square root of 27 and 3 times the square root of 3 are the same answer. What you want to do is you want to look at anything on the n squared line here. These are the perfect squares. And do any of these numbers here go into 27? Well, right there, 9 does. So I can write this as the square root of 9 times 3, because 9 times 3 is 27. And you can actually separate these out here, so it's really the same thing as the square root of 9 times the square root of 3. Now, why would you do this? Because what is the square root of 9? Well, the square root of 9 is 3. So you can just go ahead and replace this with 3 times the square root of 3. So these two, square root of 27 and 3 times the square root of 3, are equivalent. They're the same exact answer as we did earlier here, decimal-wise, and they're also the same here as radicals. This is in the simplified square root form because 3 is a smaller number than 27. So that's why we call it simplifying radicals. So let's try another one here. I'm going to go ahead and look at my list up here again, and I'm going to ask myself, do any numbers here go into 72? Well, 9. 9 goes into 72. So I can say that's the same thing as the square root of 9 times the square root of 8, because 9 times 8 is 72. Well, 9 is 3, so now it's 3 times the square root of 8. Now look at this last number here, 8. Are there any numbers here that go? Well, 4 does. 4 goes into that. So this is the square root of 8 is square root of 4 times the square root of 2. We still have a 3 out in front there. And what is the square root of 4? Well, it's 2. So this becomes 3 times 2 times the square root of 2. And 3 times 2 is 6. So it's 6 square root 2. So these two radicals are equal to each other. Square root of 72 in simplified form is 6 square root of 2. So the question also is there a way to do this in an easier way? And the answer is yes. And what you want to do is, I know 9 goes into 72 evenly, but is there a bigger number? 16, no. 25, no. Well, 36. So 36 actually is the biggest number possible, and it's simpler and easier if you find the biggest number possible. So 72 is the same thing as 36 times 2, and the square root of 36 is 6, so it becomes 6 square root 2. So either way, whether or not you do it in multiple steps here or you just do it basically in one step, you're going to get the same answer. It's just that if you pick the biggest number, in this case 36, it makes your work a lot easier. You do it really in 1 or 2 steps versus, in this case about 4 or 5. Okay, next step, we've got the square root of 45. So once again, look down your list here, 1, 4, 9 goes in there. So this is going to be 9 square root of 9 times the square root of 5. Square root of 9 is 3. So this becomes 3 times the square root of 5, and that is your answer. 5, nothing goes into 5. That's on the list other than 1, and 1 doesn't really do any good there. Let's do a couple more here, just so you can kind of see more of how this works. 200. 200, well, 25 goes into it. That would be 25 times 8, but there's a bigger number. 100 goes into it. So I would pick that one. So this is going to be the square root of 100 times the square root of 2, because 100 times 2 is 200. Square root of 100 is 10. So it ends up being 10 square root 2. And that means that's a simplified root form of 200 square rooted. 54. Is there anything on the list? Well, oh, 9 goes in there. So this is going to be the square root of 9 times the square root of 6. The square root of 9 is 3. So it's 3 square root 6. Okay, 150. Well, let's see here on the list here. 4 doesn't go in. 9, no. 16, no. 25. 25 goes in 6 times. So this will be the square root of 25 times the square root of 6. The square root of 25 is 5. So it ends up being 5 times the square root of 6. So that's basically how you do it. You're looking for perfect squares on the list. And let me just say one last thing before we go here, and that is, I've seen students do this. Well, they'll say, you know what, 150 is the square root of 15 times the square root of 10. Now, why is this not useful? Well, what's the square root of 15? It's a decimal answer. What's the square root of 10? It's a decimal answer. This does you no good because neither of these can be simplified into a whole number. Now, 25, the square root of that is 5, and that's why we do it that way instead of something like 15 times 10.